Rajesh, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, that's good.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Dear all, thank you for registering yourself in this webinar. We are so excited to have you all here in the webinar jointly organized by School of Medical and Allied Sciences and IPGA Indian Pharmacy Graduates Association. The webinar is on licensing requirements and procedures for retail and wholesale pharmacy in India. In this webinar, I, Neha Menocha, and Ms.
Silky Sethi, welcome you all on the behalf of School of Medical and Allied Sciences.
The convener of the event is Dr. Garg. Professor Dr. Arun Garg is the Dean of School of Medical and Allied Sciences. Professor Garg has been associated with the quality pharmacy education as an academician for the past 35 years. He is a well-known name in the field of pharmacy education and has received several prestigious awards for his research. Dr. B. Mukherjee Award for the Best Paper in Indian Journal of Pharmacology, conferred with Hamdard National Foundation Research Award, the prestigious Young Teacher Award by Society of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. Sir has also received IPGA Professional Excellence Award and IPGA Fellowship Award. Professor Garg is a mentor and a guide for several pharmacy students and is also the General Secretary of Indian Pharmacy Graduates Association. I welcome you, sir, in this event. Over to you, Silky ma'am.
Thank you, Neha, for introducing me. I would like to thank Indian Pharmacy Graduate Association and also K.R. Mangalam University School of Medical and Allied Sciences. The main thrust of this series of webinars is that we wanted to train the students and we wanted to incorporate skills in pharmacy or pharmaceutical sciences. So the present seminar is regarding the regulatory norms and regulatory things that is required for the practice of pharmacy in a community or a wholesale pharmacy. I know Mr. Jaggi from last 30 years. He has been our mentor in Indian Pharmacy Graduate Association. He is our advisor. And none other than Mr. Jaggi is authority in regulatory affairs. He has a lot of knowledge and also he is LLB. So whenever we sought any legal requirement, any legal issue, we generally go to Mr. Jackie for the consultation. The School of Medical and Allied Sciences is running B Pharmacy course, Diploma in Pharmacy course, and M Pharmacy course in Pharmaceutics and Pharmacology. We have state-of-the-art laboratories, and we have a good industrial connect in the NCR. We have industrial collaboration with Sun Pharma, Dabur Research Foundation, Medicam and Biotech, and to name Arboro Pharmaceutical, for training our students, for letting them know and giving them hands-on experience on the pharmaceutical equipments and analytical techniques. So our students are doing research in Dabur Research Foundation, Sun Pharmaceuticals, and other industries which I have named. The other thing which is unique in our department is that we have industrial guest lectures, specifically in the field of clinical pharmacy, pharmacovigilance, and regulatory affairs. I'd like to tell you, the students who are participating, that there are around 3,000 jobs available in Accenture as a pharmacovigilance officer, and the salary package is 25,000 to maybe 1 lakh rupee or 5 lakh rupees, depending on the experience and capability. And we train our students in pharmacovigilance a lot by having collaboration with Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, Pharmacovigilance Program of India. We have our experts like Dr. Kalai Selvan, who is the Principal Scientific Officer in Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. So if you come to KR Mangalam University, then you have abundant careers and you have abundant opportunities, you have abundant placement opportunities, because we make you apt for the industries. And we welcome all the students. They will gain a lot by going through this lecture. We have other lectures in the series. And once again, I welcome you on behalf of KR Mangalam University and Indian Pharmacy Graduate Association. Over to you, Silky Madam.
Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon, Jaggi sir. We are highly delighted that you have graced this occasion with your auspicious presence, and the students would be really enlightened with your words, and you have been a wonderful speaker. And today's topic is licensing requirements and procedures for retail and wholesale pharmacy in India, which is a very relevant topic, and we are looking forward for a very enlightened session. Neha ma'am, I would request you to give a brief citation of Jaggi sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Wese Jaggi sir do not
Actually, there is
require
no-
any introduction since he is
Yeah,
a renowned speaker. But yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. So in the educational forum, Mr. Jaggi has done the LLB, MBA, Diploma in Pharmacy, and the Bachelor of Pharmacy. After graduation, he worked as an manufacturing chemist and worked with various capacities like drug control department with Government of India. He served as an officer on the special duty. He was in charge of intelligence cell licensing authority also, and he was a recipient of various awards like Best Drug Inspector Award 2002 in Bangalore, IPGA Fellowship Award 2011 at New Delhi, KC Chatterjee Award 2014 during 66 IPGA held at Hyderabad, IPGA Lifetime Achievement Award 2016, and Pharma Ratan Award 2017 at New Delhi. Presently, Dr. Jaggi is the founder, trustee of Indian Pharmacy Graduates Welfare Trust, editor-in-chief IPGA Today newsletter, and member in Internal Ethics Committee of Drug State Cancer Institute, GTB Hospital. I welcome you, sir. I heartily welcome you in this webinar.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to all the participants of this webinar. Thank you, Neha Minocha and Silky Sethi, for the nice words you have spoken about me while introducing me to the attendees. My special thanks to Dr. Arun Garg for giving me this opportunity to be part of this webinar. I have known Professor Arun Garg, as he has already admitted, for over 3 decades. Apart from a great education, he is a very good singer and above all, a very nice human being. I appreciate his efforts and all those in his teams who work tirelessly all these days, even during the deadly second wave of pandemic, for the benefit of the budding pharmacists, not only belonging to their own college, but pharmacy students of other institutes also, by conducting such webinars. I understand that more than 893 participants had registered till morning today from different parts of India. Thank you, Professor Garg, for giving me this opportunity and platform to make more friends across India. My topic for the today is, as you all know, licensing requirements and procedure for retail and wholesale pharmacy in India. So this topic has been chosen very aptly by Dr. Garg, with the view that many of you would like to start their own business and be an entrepreneur. By being an entrepreneur, you will be not only gainfully employed yourself, but you will be providing job to some other people also. So thank you for all the help. So we are on the first slide, and licensing requirements and procedure for the retail and wholesale pharmacy in India. So in this presentation, I am going to tell you, particularly the students of pharmacy, whether diploma, degree, PharmD or MPharm, those who want to have their own business in pharmacy by setting up a retail or a wholesale business, then what they have to do. But before I jump directly to that, I want to explain a few things which I will be using during my talk, and some of the terminologies I want to explain. And the scope of my presentation would be, and we'll be discussing about the pharmaceutical policy of India as of today. What are the important enactments or the acts relating to drugs in India, and the licensing requirement for the sale of drugs in India, some of the storage conditions for the drugs, some labeling instructions of the drugs, and what are the penalties under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act if anybody is doing anything wrong, even after starting their own business. So what is the pharmaceutical policy of India? This is making essential drugs accessible and affordable prices to the common masses. This is very important. You all understand the drug should be available and it should be at an affordable price. Like you have seen during the pandemic, so many drugs were available, but they were at a very, very exorbitant price. People were doing black marketing and all those things, remdesivir or even medicine, oxygen and all those things. And providing a long-term stable policy environment for the pharmaceutical sector so that people who want to invest in India, the foreign companies, they want to invest in India, then they should know what is the policy of the government, so that they can also be useful not only to our country, but make what you call profit out of that. And next is making sufficiently self-reliant in end-to-end indigenous drug manufacturing. Perhaps all of you know that India is considered to be the pharmacy of the world. We are exporting to as many as 195 countries of the world, but they are in the form of formulations. But most of the APIs, what we call the active pharmaceutical ingredients, we are importing from many other countries, say Taiwan, China, Japan, Italy, and all. So we want to be self-reliant, and our worthy Prime Minister also said that we should be vocal for our local, so that we can manufacture all our APIs also in India. And when we become local, we will like to grow into a global also, because we are already doing the pharmaceutical preparations all over the world. Ensuring world-class quality of drugs for domestic consumption and exports, that is very important. And it is because of our quality that even the advanced countries like US and European countries, they are buying our quality products. And we have to maintain that quality throughout. And creating an environment for R&D to produce innovative drugs. So this is also very important, and this is in nutshell the pharmaceutical policy of India, which was then initiated in 2017. The basic idea is, in the last line, you can see that making available and accessible, authentic, affordable drugs. Availability is definitely important, easily accessible, nearby. Authentic means genuine, and affordable means at affordable price for the even for the poor people who do not have much means to take care of their health also. So Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 is the main act which we know about the drugs in India. The preamble says that it an act to regulate import, manufacture, distribution, and sale of drugs and cosmetics. And now medical devices have also been included in, and even cosmetics. So whatever is being imported in India, whatever is being manufactured in India, whatever is being sold and distribution in India must be of standard quality. And this is in nutshell, the Drugs and Cosmetic Act has to say in its preamble. Under the Act, we have the drugs rules. Earlier, these were known as Drugs and Cosmetic Rules 1945. Now, since Cosmetic Rules 2020 have come into force, the rules now stand as Drug Rules 1945. The main objective, as I understand, being a student of law, is that the main objective of this act is to prevent the import, manufacture, sale, and distribution of spurious, misbranded, adulterated, and substandard drugs into India, basically to maintain high standards of medical treatment. Of course, if the drug is genuine, it's not misbranded, not adulterated, it will have its own effect, and the patient will be getting relief of the whatever treatment the doctor is giving to the patient. So if the drug is not genuine or is spurious, then the doctor will be thinking, I got all the tests done, I've done my diagnosis so well, but what is this that the drug is not working? And even the patient or the caregiver of the patient, they may think why the drug is not working. Either the doctor is not able to understand our problem, or the drug is not there. So the idea is to maintain high standards of medical treatment during this. And what is a drug? Under Section 3B of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, the definition of drug, the one part of the main part I have included here, drug includes all medicines. So all medicines are included under the definition of drug. All medicines for internal or external use of human beings or animals, and all substances. I have I have underlined the word substances. I'm going to explain why I have underlined. Intended to be used for or in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of any disease or disorder in human beings or animals, including preparations applied on the human body for the purposes of repelling insects like mosquitoes. So Odomos is one thing that is applied on the body. That is also, although in the form of a cream, topically applied, but it is now covered under the definition of drug. So here I wanted to tell you that this definition you must have studied in your, or you will be studying in your jurisprudence, medical jurisprudence also, perhaps in the 5th semester of B.Pharm. What is a drug? So all medicines which are used for diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of disease is covered by the definition of drug. Substances. I'm going to tell you what is substances could be. Medical devices are also now covered under the definition of drug, and some of the medical devices I have jotted down for you, such as sutures, ligatures, surgical dressings like bandages, cotton, and all those, blood grouping, sera, umbilical tapes, vaginal tube rings, they are all medical devices. I have a few slides on this also, but I'm going to subsequently tell you what are the medical devices which are now covered under the definition of drug. These are some of the substances. Why I underlined the word substance was this. Disinfectants, whether black or white, they could be coal tar based. They are all covered under the definition of drugs. They can't be said to be what you call medicines, because these disinfectants, when applied on innate bodies or surfaces, say floor, they have their own effect, whereby they destroy the bacteria, rickettsia, fungi, and disease-causing viruses also at times. So they are considered to be substances, and now by Gazette of 1960, they were taken under the fold of drug. Contraceptives, whether oral, mechanical, or intrauterine, they are also now covered under the definition of contraceptives. And some of the insecticides like DDT, pyrethrum, and dieldrine, they are also under the definition of drugs since 1961. So you will appreciate that medicines are different and substances are different, but they are all covered under the definition of drug as defined under the Section 3B of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. These are some of the medical devices. Initially, the first three were notified as drugs. The first one is hypodermic syringes. You know, all these syringes, we are using these for our vaccination purposes. And hypodermic needles, they are also now under the definition of drugs. And disposable perfusion sets. You know, perfusion sets is a system whereby having a plunger and a tubing and a filter inside in between, whereby the large volume parenterals are directly injected into the human body through the circulatory system. So initially these three were 1989, they were included under the definition of drug. But later on, in vitro medical devices for detection of HIV, HPSAG, and SCV, they were also covered under the definition of drug. And very recently, not very recently, in 2005, these other items like carding stents, drug-eluting stents, different kinds of catheters, intraocular lenses, any lens that has been put inside by the doctor inside my retina to set my myopia or other disorder of the eye, then they are also now covered under the definition of drug. Intravenous cannula, bone cements, heart wall, scale bend set, orthopedic implants like screws, pins, needles, and even plates made of stainless steel or titanium. They are kept inside the body, and to make that the fracture of the hip joint or tibia or any other bone to set it right. So all these orthopedic implants are also now drugs. Internal prosthetic replacements and ablation devices, they are also drugs. Some of the recently devices that have been added into the definition of drug are the nebulizer. You know, people who are having asthma or pulmonary diseases, they are using nebulizers. And during this pandemic, even these nebulizers were in short supply because there were breathing problems to the people who were having COVID. Now, blood pressure monitoring devices, whether aneroid, electronic, or even mercury, of course, has been banned. They are all covered under the definition of drug. And this date of notification I've written in the table was uh, December 2018. Glucometers, which we check for our blood sugar for the diabetic patient, now they are also covered under the definition of drug. Why I'm telling you all this, I'll come back to my original focus topic, that these questions can be asked during your viva, during your interview, and you must know, being a pharmacist, that these are some of the other things which are now considered to be drugs. All implantable medical devices, CT scan equipment, defibrillators, dialysis machine, they will also be now soon be under the definition of drug. This positron emission tomography equipment, this is used for detection of different kinds of cancer. MRI equipment, medical resonance imaging. X-ray machines will again be now be under the definition of drug, and bone marrow cell separator. So these will be now drugs by the definition. What is a cosmetic? We should know, because at times there is a very fine difference. Not even the regulators are able to say whether it's a drug or a cosmetic. So we use anti-acne cream. Clearasil is one which coming to my mind. So if I ask somebody, is it a cosmetic or a drug? Most of the people will say, yes, it is a cosmetic. Till recently, even Borolene was considered generally by the people as a cosmetic, but actually it has been always been a definition of drug, but now it is a Ayurvedic medicine. So what is a cosmetic? I'm going to tell you. Cosmetic means any article intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, or sprayed, or introduced into, or otherwise applied to the human body or any part thereof for the purposes of cleansing, beautifying, promoting attractiveness, or altering the appearance, and includes any article intended to be used as a component there. So I am telling you, laying stress on the definition of cosmetic and drug, because at times it is very difficult to. I give you another example: prickly heat powder. Anybody you ask, they will say yes, it is a cosmetic. No, actually it is not, because it has a different purpose. Because when it is applied to the skin, it destroys the bacteria which which is the basic cause of the prickly on our body. So that comes under the definition of drug. So I can give you more example, but it will require another one full day for that. But today my lecture is limited to my students who want to go in for having their own pharmacy. Here I want to tell you that all of you must be knowing that whenever you go to a pharmacy to purchase a medicine, you know that they are having a license. But no license is required for the sale or distribution of cosmetics. So cosmetics you can find on a general store also, on the payments also, in the Shukar Bazaar or Ayat Bazaar or Shani Bazaar, whatever you call it. No license is required. Yes, license is required for their manufacture, but no license is required for the sale. The idea I'm giving you is that those people who don't want to have a pharmacy of their own, or they want to have even their pharmacy of their own, they can keep the cosmetics separately. They don't require any license. And there are other items also. Ayurvedic medicine, they also don't require a license for sale or distribution, but they must be manufactured by a licensed manufacturer only. So you know, I can summarize that cosmetics and Ayurvedic medicines, they can only be manufactured under a license, but for their sale and distribution, no license is required. We'll be discussing about drugs, cosmetic and medical devices. And the implementation of the Drug Act and the rules is a two-tier system as far as India is concerned. At the central level, we have the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. At the state level, we have also the Department of Health and Family Welfare. Under the central government, we have the DCGI office, the Drug Controller General of India, which is in New Delhi, and they have their offices, that is Central Drug Standards Control Organization, They have zonal offices in Chennai, Ghaziabad, Mumbai and all. And they have offices of import of drugs. What they look after? They look after the import of drugs, clinical trials, new drug clearances, and they also act as central license approving authority. I'm going to explain what it is. At times, such questions are asked in your Viva as well as entrance exam also. And these are the items, the vaccines, large volume parenterals, medical devices, blood banks, and clinical research organizations for which the central license approving authority also has to sign the license. The license is issued by the state licensing authority, but the CDSCO officer who is designated for the purpose, he has also to approve the license and he signs on that. The vaccines, large volume parenterals, the medical devices, blood banks, and clinical research organizations. The officer from the CDSO as well as from the state, they go and inspect and submit their report. Then only a license is granted for their manufacture. So this is the CDO headquarters in Delhi. You may not need to go there, but at times, supposing you are having your own pharmacy, you want to import some drugs directly for your patient or for yourself or for sale, then you have to approach the CDSU headquarters, which is in New Delhi, next to Bal Bhavan in ITO. A very famous place, huge 5-storied building. They have different sections there. So import section, you will have to go there. Otherwise, you need not go to this headquarters. Only the state drug controller will help you. So in the states, we have at the lowest level, we have the drug inspector or the drug control officers. In some states, we call it drug control officer. In Haryana, we have the state drug control officer also. Then above that is the licensing authority, like I was the licensing authority for Delhi. And above that is the controlling authority in most of the states. And the controlling authority is basically to coordinate between the ministry. They normally don't have the powers to issue license. But in some of the states, the licensing authorities are the assistant drug controller or the deputy drug controller or the joint drug controller. But some states, they call it commissioner. Say in Mumbai, we have the commissioner. So the commissioner of drugs, the joint commissioner of drugs, then we have the deputy commissioner of drugs, like that. So licensing of manufacturing units, allopathic manufacturing, cosmetics. I'm not going to touch upon all this what I have shown you here, but I want to tell you all the students of pharmacy who have done their or will be completing their pharmacy, B.Pharm, diploma or M.Pharm, that you can have your own repacking of drugs unit also. You will be qualified for that. So it's not only cosmetics, it's not only repacking of drugs, you can also start your own pharmacy. The other day I checked up with the Ayush department also. They also recognize B.Pharm or any higher qualification for as a technical staff for the manufacture of Ayurvedic and Unani medicines if you have 2 years of manufacturing experience of Ayurvedic medicine. So there are lots of avenues. Even if you don't want to go in for anything else, you can have your own cosmetic manufacturing unit. You can have your own repacking of drugs units. Repacking, I understand most of you must be knowing it. Buying the glycerin or the boric acid or the zinc oxide or acetic acid in bulk and repacking into the smaller containers and mentioning what does the particular this bottle or the carton contains. You have to mention the quantity. You can mention the batch number, the manufacturing date, and all those labeling requirements you have to fulfill. And the name of the manufacturer will be yours only. Supposing glycerin is manufactured by Hindustan Lever or the Godrej, then if you repack it, it will be your name, such and such pharmaceuticals, such and such pharmaceuticals. So you can have your own business of repacking of drugs also. Now coming to the sales outlet, which is my main focus today, that is wholesale of drugs and retail of drugs. So wholesale licenses are issued by the licensing authority all over India on Form 20B and 21B. For retail licenses, the forms are 20 and 21. So what are these? I'm going to dwell more on some of the terminologies. Supposing you want to have your own wholesale or retail business in Delhi, so this is the office of the Drug Control Department. I mentioned the website also. You can note down, and the email also. Some queries are there, and phone number is also there. Supposing you want to have make some query, there is always a duty officer there who will help you out that what are the requirements of law for starting your own pharmacy, retail or wholesale. Similarly, in CDSC office, they have a PRO. PRO is also a senior drug inspector who is sitting there all the time and giving replies to your queries, whether by telephone or you can go over there also, because in this pandemic, everybody tries to be making inquiries online or otherwise on phone. So this is the building. If you want to have your license in Delhi, you will have to visit. And these are some of the terminologies which I'm going to use. I'm sure many of you must be knowing it, but just for the sake of repetition and clarity for all of you, I have jot down. What is a retail sale? I think when I was a drug inspector, I never knew that. What is a retail sale? Like you, I also thought retail means थोड़ी quantity में कुछ देना. Selling something in small quantities. And what is wholesale? Wholesale means something selling in large quantities. No, actually it is not. Technically it is wrong. So what is a retail sale? Retail sale means a sale. It could be to be a hospital also. It could be to a dispensary or a medical or educational or research institute, or to any other person other than a sale by way of wholesale. So it is so very confusing. You can see that anything which can be sold to a hospital, dispensary, medical, education or research institute, but it should not be wholesale. So that is retail. So now for that, we should know what is wholesale. What is wholesale? Sale by way of wholesale means a sale to a person for the purpose of selling again. If I am a wholesaler, I sell to a retailer, I know that he'll be selling it to somebody who will be a consumer or a hospital or a dispensary. So the fine difference is not the quantity, not the bulk. It is, if it is meant for resale, then it is wholesale. If it is directly to the consumer, then it is the retail sale. I hope I am clear. Some more terminologies I wanted to discuss. I'm sure you must be having been told under the drugs and cosmetic rules, we have the different schedules, Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, D, and up to Schedule Y, and now perhaps Z will also be coming. What is Schedule C? Schedule C contains the list of biological and special products. What are those? Sera vaccine for parenteral use, toxin antigens, antitoxins, insulin, pituitary, adrenaline and its preparation, antibiotics, and the preparations to be administered parenterally. For my own sake, I have just kept two words for myself. Schedule C means all those drugs which are given by parenteral route. Parenteral route, I hope you all know, which are not taken by mouth, not going to the gastrointestinal route, and directly injected into our body, so that it reaches the site, not by absorption through the gastrointestinal route or by the skin route or otherwise. So ophthalmic preparations, sterile disposable syringes for single use, and sterile sutures and ligatures. They are all covered under the Schedule C drugs. Now, what are Schedule C1? I'm sure you must be knowing it, but when the question is asked by the invigilator or the examiner, we really fail to recollect what exactly. So for you, you can only remember that all those drugs which are given parenterally are C1 drugs, or which are for ophthalmic preparations or sterile products, they are C1 drugs. Otherwise, all are C1 drugs. What are those? These are also special products, digitalis, preparations of digitalis, ergot, vitamin preparations, fish liver oil, liver extract, hormones, vaccines, which are not administered parenterally. So if a vaccine, if I ask you polio vaccine, is it a Schedule C drug or a C1 drug? I think all of you will say C1 drug. No, actually it's a biological product, but it is not being given by parenteral route. It is being given by the oral route. So it will be a Schedule C1 drug. So in the process, not only I think I'm educating myself, the faculty and the students also. And I know there are people in this webinar who are watching this just for the sake of starting a new business, because some people have approached me. I said, no, I'm not going to answer your queries. You come over to the webinar, and that is why the number of registration is so much. Not only because of the KR Mangalam University only, but some people wanted to make queries like that. I think they will be benefiting by this also. So in vitro blood grouping sera, they are also covered under Schedule C1. In vitro diagnostic devices for HIV, HBsAg, and HCV detection, they are also covered under C1. One more thing I want to tell you, which is quite important. What are Schedule X drugs? Normally, even in the examination, teachers do ask in the interview also, people who will be going for industrial training and all, they will be asked a few questions. So if you are not able to tell the important things, then they will feel that no, we don't require such people who even don't know what is Schedule X. Schedule X drugs basically are barbiturates and amphetamines, different types. There's a list of 16 drugs. Some of the important I have jotted down for you. But first is the amobarbital, barbital, secobarbital, amphetamine, dexamphetamine, meprovamate, oseltamivir, and zanamivir. I think you all know they are meant for bird flu. And ketamine is a habit-forming general short-acting general anesthetics, which is misused. So all of these drugs, because they are habit-forming and have the likelihood of being misused, they have been segregated and kept in a separate schedule, that is Schedule X. And one thing important about these drugs is that you need a prescription, of course, but the prescription has to be in duplicate. One copy is kept by the pharmacist and the other is given back to the patient or the caregiver who is coming to you after stamping it, so that it cannot be used or misused for buying another quantity of the same thing, which is otherwise quite dangerous. So now coming to that, retail sale of drugs, I have told you that here since we want to start our pharmacy, we'll be requiring these two licenses, 20 and 21. Chemist and druggist is an old misnomer, because no chemistry is involved these days in the pharmacy, and we are not selling hard drugs. Why should we call ourselves druggists also? So pharmacy is a better word. And whenever you also talk to anybody, you tell, yes, I am pursuing the course in pharmacy. So Schedule C and C and F also, I am going to tell you what is that. For wholesale drugs, we will be requiring 20B and 21B. 20 and 20B, these are the licenses for items which are not covered under Schedule C, and 21 and 21B are the biological drugs which are covered by the Schedule CC1. Right? 2021 is for all drugs which are not covered under C and C1, and 21 and 21B is for drugs which are covered under C and C1. So this is the reason I wanted to describe you and tell you the particular terminology why a separate license is required. That's why they are biological drugs. For wholesale drugs, we have 20B and 21B. 20D is for the wholesale of homeopathic medicine, and 20C is for the retail of homeopathic medicines. And 20F is the retail license for Schedule X drugs. And anybody wants to deal in Schedule X drugs by way of wholesale, then he will have to obtain a license on Form 20G. So now coming to the this slide, I had prepared actually for the drug inspectors and the regulatory officers. What license is issued? Say Form 20 license is issued, and the application form required is Form 19. So I'm not going to discuss this for you. I'll skip this. This is Form 19. Form 19 is actually the application form in which you will have to fill up. I means, say, my name will be there, or the names of the partners will be there, or the names of the directors will be there. Hereby apply for the license to sell by way of retail or wholesale, whatever you want to, you will mention, and you will mention the address of your premises where you have taken your pharmacy. And the name of the pharmacist, supposing you are yourself the pharmacist, you will mention your name. If there are two pharmacists, the names of the pharmacist and their qualification also, B Farm, D Farm, Farm D, or whatever it is. And if you are having special storage conditions, say a refrigerator for vaccines, you require a deep freezer, you will mention that we have this facility also. Then you have to mention what fees you have deposited. You have to sign here and put your date on which you apply. So this is a basic form for retail license as well as wholesale license. Form 19 is the basic form. Supposing you want to have deal in biologicals and non-biologicals also, you will have to fill Form 19 twice. Form 19 will be deposited. If you want to deal in wholesale of drugs also and retail also, so 4 Form 19 you will have to submit. And if you want to deal in homeopathic medicines, you will have to submit another application on Form 19B. So this is for retail sale of homeopathic medicine. And if you want to deal in Schedule X drugs, then you have to submit Form 19C also. So there are different forms which, as I told you, when you go to the drug control department, wherever the state you want to start your own pharmacy, there will be people to help you that you fill up this form and you will be getting this. And they will tell you what are the other documents which I am going to discuss you in my next slide also. These are the, this is a chart which I have prepared, of course, for the, as a ready reckoner for the regulators, where it describes that if you want to start wholesale and retail, application form 19 will be submitted, right? These are the drugs other than those specified in Schedule CC1, which I have already explained to you. If you want to have the Schedule CC1 drugs also you want to deal in, then you will have to submit another to Form 19. The application fee for each license is 1,500 rupees, which you have to deposit in the government treasury. So if I want to have retail and wholesale, then 3,000 rupees here and 3,000 rupees here, 6,000 rupees I will have to deposit. And if I want to start my homeopathic business also, want to have a homeopathic license also, for wholesale it will be 250 rupees and retail it will be 250 again. So this is just a ready reckoner for the sake of supposing if your license is lost or destroyed, then another copy of the same you can get it for by paying rupees 150 rupees, which is same in all the cases for all the licenses. For each license you will have to submit 150 rupees, because the original license you have always to display at your pharmacy. So it has to be kept very, very safe all the time, because the not only the consumers, but the inspector or the officer who will come to inspect your premises, he will like to see you have a license and it has been displayed. It is one of the conditions thereof. This I am going to skip, not for you. Yes, these are the licenses which we are discussing. Form 20, Form 21, Form 20B, and Form 21B, retail and wholesale. And this is for what you call Schedule X drugs. Schedule X drugs, retail is on Form 20F and 20G is on wholesale. So what are the conditions? Conditions when you will get a license. So first of all, you should have a premises. Premises, a shop. It should be adequately equipped with proper storage conditions. What does it mean? Racks and showcases should always be there for preserving the properties of the drugs. No direct sunlight is coming into your shop so that it can, it can destroy or to some extent lower the potency of the contents of the particular drug that has been stored. It should be manned by a registered pharmacist. Of course, a registered pharmacist is required. And if you want to start your wholesale business, then a competent person is enough, whose qualification is as matriculate and having 4 years of experience. But in your case, it is not so. All of you can have your own retail and wholesale license also. But the important thing is that the area, that is the floor area, should not be less than 10 square meter if you want to have a retail license on Form 20 and 21. If you want to have wholesale license separately, say 20B and 21B, then you have to have 10 square meters separately. And in the same premises, if you want to have retail and wholesale, then the area is 15 square meter. 15 square meter comes to around 165 square feet, and there is exactly 107 square feet of the floor area. So when the officer comes, he will measure it out with a measuring tape, the actual dimensions of the floor, and if it has been suitably equipped with racks, refrigerator, and all those things, and the person is himself a pharmacist or has employed the services of a pharmacist, then he will recommend your license and you may get it. So what is the exact procedure? I'm going to tell you. Homeopathic, I have already told you, nothing in there. This is the procedure to obtain the retail or wholesale drug license. If you want to have both, then procedure remains the same. What is the first step? The applicant has to submit the prescribed application form together with the relevant documents and submit on the web portal of the Drug Control Department. Web portal I have already told you in my one of the slides. And the list of documents that has to be submitted, it is in my next slide. I'm going to tell you what are the documents. So if the documents are there, you have submitted the application and you have submitted the fees. The second step would be the application is scrutinized. You have to upload it on the website, web portal of the Drug Control Department, whichever state you are. Actually, this system was started first by the Gujarat government, then it was being followed by the Karnataka, the Maharashtra, and now Delhi, and so many other states have also followed this system, whereby all the documents, otherwise all the documents used to be collected physically, submitted in the office. Sometimes they used to be some mistake also, and it used to take a lot of time. As the Prime Minister has always reiterated that there should be ease of doing business. Without business, no revenue is generated, and when the revenue is generated, only then the infrastructure and all the services which the government provides in the form of, say, telephone services, roads, and all, then only then can this it can run the business. So this is very important. The application is then scrutinized by an official, say a clerk, and forwarded to the concerned drug control officer or the inspector, as we call it. The premises is inspected by the concerned drug inspector before a license is granted, and all the documents are checked and verified. If the concerned drug inspector submits the report together with his recommendations to the concerned licensing authority, first you have to submit all the documents online. Then the some official of the Drug Control Department checks all the documents, verifies it. If they are found okay, then if all the conditions as prescribed under the rules are found to have been complied, the license is issued, as SMS message is sent to you, and you can download your license anywhere in the world. So if you need not come to the drug control office to collect your license. Earlier it used to be the people used to come to the control office, or we used to send to the by registered post to the licensee. It used to take a lot of time, waste of time. Once you get the SMS and a message or an email that your license is ready and we have uploaded it, you can download because you have been allotted a particular password. So once your password is there, you click it, you download the whole thing, and you can now start your business. You need not go to office again and again. This is for because the facilitating all the business people who want to be entrepreneurs in their life. So these are some of the things which I thought I'll tell you. The application forms have to be there, proof of having deposited the fees, a treasury challan is there, then a declaration form, who are you, what is your address, what is your phone number, what is your email ID, that the particular form is there. I'm going to show you some of these, and key plan, what is how to reach that place, site plan, what is the size of the premises that you have to submit. Then the basis of possession. So supposing it belongs to me or my father, who has allowed it me, there is a rent receipt. All those things you have to submit. Then proof of ownership. If it is owned by somebody, the copies of the documents, let's say registry or the allotment letter, you have to submit. Then proof of constitution. Supposing it is a proprietary firm, you have to submit an affidavit that it's a proprietorship firm. If it's a partnership, then the copy of the partnership deed. Then if it is a limited company or a private limited company, the memorandum and articles of association is to be submitted. Then you have never been convicted under the drugs and cosmetic liquor, affidavit is submitted. Then proprietor has to submit that he has employed or she has employed a pharmacist. Then certified copy of the qualification of the person. Supposing you are yourself a pharmacist, you will submit your qualification certificate, copy of the qualification certificate, and you have got to be yourself registered with the particular state pharmacy council where you want to have your business. Supposing you want to have your business in Haryana, then you should be registered with Haryana Pharmacy Council. If you want to start your business in Bangalore, so you should be registered with Karnataka Pharmacy Council. Then a biodata form is also to be submitted. Affidavit regarding registered pharmacist, then appointment letter, photograph of the registered pharmacist, identity proof of the pharmacist, and of course, Aadhaar card is one document so that you are yourself the owner and you have applied for a license. So now whatever is being done online, it is known as extended licensing laboratory and legal node. So this was started, as I told you, first by Gujarat, which was developed by the NIC, which has now been followed by other states also, and it is working very well all over the states, saving a lot of time on the part of the entrepreneurs who want to start their own business, as well as of the officers who want to, and there's a lot of transparency also. See, this is the application form which I told you you have to submit for the for having your own pharmacy. You have to submit your details. I'm very sorry, the font is so small. Even I can't read it. It is with difficulty. So if you want to sell, say, non-biologicals and biological products, you have to mention here. And drawers and racks and wooden furniture have been provided. Then you have to say that you have deposited 3,000 rupees, say 1,500 rupees for one and 1,500 rupees for the other license, 3,000 rupees. And this is the fresh license on form 2021. So both the partners have signed, and this is the date. And this document is then uploaded on the website or the portal of the website of the drug control department. Another form, they have to submit 2 forms. This is the fee. Fee they have deposited for form 20 Form 20, they have deposited 1500 rupees. I told you for every license there is a fee of 1500 rupees. So for Form 20, 1500 rupees and another 1500 rupees for Form 21. So they are applying for full retail license for biological products and non-biological products. So these two, what you call a receipt for that they have deposited the money, they have to upload. This is a self-declaration form for the registered pharmacist where he declares that I am such and such. His photograph will be here. He is addressing it to the licensing authority, and then the name of the firm where he wants to work. These are the signatures of the partner, and this is the signature of the particular registered pharmacist who is being employed. Like you will be your own pharmacist, then at both the places your signature will be there. You will have to submit the copy of the registration certificate in the particular pharmacy council. As I said, Delhi, the Delhi Pharmacy Council, Karnataka Pharmacy Council. This is the key plan. How to reach that place? Supposing I want to go for inspection, although I'm not an inspector, the inspector wants to go for inspection. Then he, from the drug control department, how can he go about it? So he will start from here, he will come here, then there is a overbridge, down the overbridge, he will cross the Yamuna bridge. From here, he will turn here, and then over the bridge. Then he will reach this particular place, that is particular pharmacy, Kejriwal Enterprises, whatever it is, could be anything. So it is just for the sake that we are able to locate. But these days, it is so very easy to see on the Google map also. It's not very difficult to reach the place. But this is a legal document which every drug control department requires before a license is granted. This is the site plan. Site plan means this is the carpet area, 2 meters by 5.25. That comes to 10.5 square meter. I told you 10 square meter is the minimum one. And this is the other property, say Panwala, or this is a Kirana shop. This is the main road, and this is the rolling shutter. I mean, the gate is on this side. This is the back wall, and these are the 3 walls. And this is intact and independent also. So this is the carpet area, and how we have to reach that approach road has been shown, and this is known as the site plan. So this used to be affidavit we used to take. Now I'm not going to discuss all this. Now the times have changed. This used to be the biodata form of the pharmacist. Now we take a self-declaration. This used to be the license earlier, very difficult one, because everything used to be written. There could be a lot of mistakes, and at times there could be no change also. The photograph could be torn off and somebody else can put his photograph. Now it is not possible. See, this is the original license which anybody can download after he gets the SMS or email anywhere in the world. So this is a Form 21 license issued to person Dinesh Prasad Singh, who is the owner. Dinesh Prasad Singh, see, he is the proprietor of the family pharmacy to whom the license has been issued. This is the name of the pharmacist. These are the signature of the licensing authority, and this is the validity. It is so very clear. Once you display it, it becomes so very easy to decipher what is written where, not like earlier. And exact area has also been mentioned here. So the next time, if the inspector goes, the new inspector goes, then he can also check and verify whether the area has been increased or decreased when the license was granted. So this is also very important. Some people decrease the area also after getting the license. Dr. Garg, can I continue for a few minutes? Another 4 or 5
Yes.
slides.
No problem,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. So this is the Form 21, that is for the biological. It is identical, but the form number has changed. Everything remains the same. This has been mentioned particularly in red so that anybody can make out that validity is up to 26th of April 2026. So that before that you have to apply for its retention. In our times, we used to call it renewal. Now it is known as retention. For that you have to deposit additional fee. So once a license is granted, then what happens? It is not so that you apply for a license and they keep on sitting as used to be in earlier days. No, the timeline has been fixed. The time for scrutiny after receipt of application, time for inspection of the premises, time for grant of license. It is maximum 35 days. 35 days में आपको license मिल जाना चाहिए, or otherwise it has got to be rejected. This is again for the purpose of transparency and for the purpose of reducing the corruption, I would say, so that people get the license at the earliest they can start their business. And similarly, for manufacturing licenses, the maximum time limit is 75 days. So for you, all those who want to have their own pharmacy, within 35 days, you must get a license. And those who want to have their cosmetic license, manufacturing license, or they want to manufacture, what I said, repacking license, then 75 days is the maximum they should get a license. Storage conditions, a few things I want to discuss. This is very important because at times questions are asked, what is cool place? Cool place means a place having a temperature between 10 degree and 25 degree. So on the label or the bottle of this ampicillin dry syrup or so, if it is written cool place, then you may be confused where to keep it, where near the chiller or in the freezer or in the vegetable tray. Because in most of the shops, you see that we use domestic refrigerators, where the temperature gradient is slowly increasing to the higher level. At the lowest, it is the highest, and at the top, it is the coolest. But there are other refrigerators also, where the different compartments are there. So cool place means 10 to 25 degrees. Cold place means 2 degrees to 8 degrees. So insulin is one drug which is kept between 2 to 8 degrees. This temperature compartment can be just below the chiller, I suppose. And no drug should particularly be stored in the what you call the gate of the refrigerator. You need not store. And no eatables should also be kept, say drinking water or cold drinks or anything else. You must not store there, because the officer will tell you this storage is only for the drugs. Capsules should be kept in a well-closed container where the temperature is not exceeding 30 degrees centigrade. Normally, they are all in strips, but the most important thing is that the relative humidity where they are kept should be very low. Not be in the, say, near the place where water is flowing or tap is there. So it should be kept away from where the dampness is there, so that the capsules remain intact and they don't become soggy. And if you try to take them off, they will break, or they will become a jelly-like thing, and the contents will also leak out. Whenever storage condition is not specified, then store at normal temperature, whatever the normal temperature is. So this, I thought, is very important. I must tell you, if you get a license, then the storage condition you should know. And yes, if you have got a license and you don't have a license, what are the penalties prescribed under the rules? And that also I'm going to tell you. Supposing a person is not having a license, he starts his own pharmacy in a village or a remote place, say in Nazafgarh or Buradi or anything. And if he is, no inspector will come and he will not be taken to task. No. Anybody who is doing a thing like that, he is taking a risk, and he will be doing it at his own peril. So a person without having a valid license or having sold a deemed adulterated drug, the imprisonment is not less than, not less than 1 year, but which may extend to 3 years. And the fine would be not less than 5,000 rupees. ये पहले था, this was earlier. Now the penalties are very strict. Now the minimum imprisonment is 3 to 5 years. and fine is not less than 1 lakh rupees or 3 times the value of the drug seized. Supposing an inspector goes there, he seizes say 3 lakh of rupees of drugs, then the judge or the magistrate can fine him up to 15 lakh of rupees and imprison him up to 3 to 5 years. 3 years is minimum if anybody is doing any business of pharmacy or dealing in drugs without a license. Very, very risky. At least for Delhi, I can tell you, anywhere in India, the rules are the same. So if a misbranded or a substandard drug is sold or found in the pharmacy, then earlier it used to be imprisonment not less than 1 year, which could extend to 2 years, and fine was not defined. But now the imprisonment is not less than 1 year. It could extend to 2 years, and fine not less than 20,000 rupees. So very, very prohibitive. And if a spurious drug is found in with anybody, like we have been hearing, the remdesivir was found spurious and amphotericin was found spurious. People have started doing hanky-panky and all. They are going to suffer very heavily, not only under the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, but under the IPC also. So 3 years used to be the earlier minimum. Now these days has been increased to 10 years to life imprisonment. Supposing because of taking this spurious remdesivir, somebody loses life, then the person who has sold it, he can be imprisoned for life, and the fine can be not less than 10 lakh rupees. Now the question arises: this 10 lakh of rupees goes to where? It goes to the government treasury. No, the person who has suffered, supposing I lose my life, my next of kin will be my wife. She will be given 10 lakh rupees or 3 times the value of the drug seized. So earlier it used to be the fine used to go to the Consolidated Fund of India. No, now it is because of consumerism growing into India also. The money that is realized from the accused is given to the next of kin. I hope I'm clear. So what is the importance of counseling by a pharmacist? Another 4 or 5 minutes. Dr. Garg, I would like to have your attention here also. What is the importance of counseling?
Yes,
Once you
yes,
get a license, it is very important. In India, it is not felt that pharmacist has to do this kind of a job. But as I understand, in the Western countries, I've seen in Switzerland also, in Dublin also, that the pharmacist is a very highly regarded person. Slowly, it will take turn here also, because when we started in 1970, we used to tell, भाई क्या करते हो? अरे सर मैं फार्मेसी कर रहा हूँ. ओके ओके, एग्रीकल्चर बहुत अच्छा है, फार्मिंग बहुत अच्छा है. अरे आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट फार्मेसी and he is talking about farming. So all these years changes have taken place, and we want that you should take the mental ahead and the importance of counseling by a pharmacist. How it is going. See, she is a pharmacist. Anybody can make out. Say, I am sitting in a white coat. Nobody else is sitting in one. So anybody can say that he is a pharmacist. So she is a pharmacist, and I think she is a patient, or she has come here to purchase medicine for his son, for her husband, or anybody, and she is explaining what exactly it is, how it is to be taken, when it's to be taken. That is the responsibility of the pharmacist. So I'm going to show you a very short film, which I think will convey what I want to. आपको समझ आया तो मुझे बताना जरूर.
Yes, sir. He's shaking his voice.
His wife.
Actually,
Why? Because
the label
bottle
contains,
says,
yes.
bottle says shake well before use.
Yeah.
Arey, what is this? It should state clearly, shake the bottle before use. take the bottle before use, and things like that. Now see, here is a pharmacist having back at me and at you also, and she is perhaps a patient who has come with a problem of asthma, and she is talking to the pharmacist. I've made some subtitles on my own, and whatever she speaks, these subtitles will also be coming like that. My asthma. But sometimes the doctor make mistakes. You are using your inhaler. उससे पूछ रहे, are you using your inhaler? Do I look like an idiot? No. Why don't you show how you use your? This is how she is using the inhaler. Oh my God. You see how to use the inhaler. Doctor doesn't have the time to explain how to use it. So who has the duty? It is the duty of the pharmacist also, because pharmacist said, at times the doctor make mistake. So it becomes the duty of the pharmacist to explain when to take, how to take, what not to take additionally, the fruit juice or anything else. And another last one, that of course is in Punjabi, and the people who understand a bit of Haryani also, Haryana or Punjabi wale samajh jayenge. Small, very small, say 15-20 seconds I'll take. Not this. A person is, I'll explain the background. The person sitting here on the cot is grieving. His father or his brother has died. And this shadow is the person who is making this film, and a neighborhood person is coming. What he is going to say to him, listen to it, and if you don't understand, I'll repeat it, and maybe I'll explain it to you also. Listen to all the words. Sorry, I could not do the subtitling. अरे चल यार, परेशान ना हो, जो अल्लाह का हुक्म होता है वही होना होता है. I think this you can understand. He is speaking in Punjabi. अरे ये मरा कैसे है? उससे पूछ रहे हैं मरा कैसे है? वो बोलता है, अरे इसकी थोड़ी सी तबीयत खराब हो गई थी. Yesterday he was sick yesterday. I take him to the doctor, and what the doctor told, I did it. And what happened now? उठ के देनी. सो मैंने इसकी गुटाई कर दी, वो मर गया 5 दिन. अब बताओ यार, if the doctor is not explaining, कुटना किसको है? दवाई को कुटना था. You had to powder the tablet or the what you call the capsule, and then give it. I think I can repeat it for the sake of. So you should all be, at least I am proud to be a pharmacist, and you should also be a proud pharmacist, because a doctor gives life to the patient through medicines, and a pharmacist gives life to the medicines through his knowledge and skill. With this, I have come close to my ending this presentation, and thank you very much, all of you. And if there are any questions, you can ask me, or if there are questions in the chat box also, you can filter them also and put them. I'll try to do justice to them. And if anybody wants to send me questions directly to me, my email ID is also there. If I can be of any help, I'm always ready. Thank
Sir,
you.
can I read out the questions here?
Read out what?
Read out the questions in the chat
Questions.
box. Is
Okay.
it possible that I can read out the question and you just answer them?
Sure. Question answer
Oh.
begins now.
Yeah. So we are open to question answer session. So one question in the chat box is, what is the future for retail pharmacy when compared to online pharmacy? And what are the restrictions on sales of different scheduled drugs for online pharmacy?
Very good. I think this person, very nice question, I would say. Some more people would be having a similar question in their mind, but I'll try to describe what exactly perhaps he is wanting to. The brick and mortar chemist shop or the pharmacy, what we call, definitely has a future. As compared to online pharmacy, it is still a beginning. I tell you that what a neighborhood pharmacist can do, the online pharmacist cannot. You can go to him twice. You can return your medicines you have bought. You can get advice from him. He is the right person. You should always. I never buy my drugs online. And these days there have been so many instances. Believe me, the drugs coming from the online pharmacy through the online pharmacy platform, they were spurious. And so many regulators have found, I'm in such a group that all the state drug controllers and the senior drug control officers of India are in that group. So much news comes during these days. There's on the online pharmacy platform, various drugs are being sold spurious, and I'll not advise. So if you want to have your own business, that's very good. You will be more useful to the people around you in the neighborhood. And if you provide little more services, people will come from far and off places to buy their medicines as well as other things, general items from you only. So future is very good. You must go in for that.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it's always treat to listen to you. So let me tell you that thing. And the second question is from Sushil Khatri. He wants to ask that how can we get the license for the drug repacking unit?
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Actually, this was not in my talk earlier. Then I thought that why restrict the pharmacist only to a pharmacy? Repacking license is not very difficult. In any state you want to go, the form 24A is there. You will apply on that, and the license you will get on form 25A. So the items which you want, which you can repack are limited. Says in Delhi there are 60 to 70 items which you can repack. I have given you some examples also. Say zinc oxide IP, boric acid IP, glycerin IP, liquid paraffin light IP, heavy liquid paraffin IP, and so many other, mercurochrome and acryflavin, and so many other, acetic acid also, because there are a lot many items, but they are limited. So you can get a license. No, there should not be any difficulty. But the only thing is that you will be getting a license if you provide a premises according to the requirements laid down under the drugs and cosmetic rules. The area has been specified, and the area should be in an industrial area only. It's not that in your own house you give a floor that you will manufacture it. The whatever you will be purchasing, you will have to get it tested. So supposing you are buying glycerin, as I told you, from Godrej, you will get it tested as per IP. Then only repack it. Then make a claim, glycerin IP. If you are buying anything in bulk, boric acid from any say industrial house or talcum powder, whatever you want to, you have to get it tested and then fill it up and then sell it into the market. Not much a difficult. And if you feel difficulty, at least in India, I can say you can I can be of help you. Not Delhi, I said, in India. I want people like you should grow and make a name for yourself as well as and for your teachers and for your university, wherever you are studying.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir. I hope, yeah. Neha, please ask the next question.
Ma'am, we have one question in the chat box
Yeah.
that whether wholesaler can sell any drug directly to the patient in case of glucometer, blood pressure monitors, price will be less than when we compare to the retail shops.
See, technically, a wholesaler cannot sell it to a consumer directly, not to a consumer. He has to sell it to the retailer, and you can buy your items from the retailer only. So, wholesaler is a person who gives it to a person who is either having a license or a medical practitioner who is a registered medical practitioner, not even to a Ayurvedic practitioner, or to a hospital or an institution. Like Kumar Mangalam University. I am Jaggi Pharmaceuticals Limited. I am having a wholesale license. I want to supply to KR Mangalam University. Yes, I can, because it is a educational institution which will be requiring for the research or internal consumption or whatever it is, but not to the consumer.
Okay, sir. I guess this is these
Yes.
are the appropriate answers to the questions they asked.
But the questions
So-
are very good. I really appreciate. Are they
Sir,
students of
There's another question which is a little
Our
typical,
Mangalam?
which is a little
yeah,
typical.
recognition to the pharmacist.
Recognition to the pharmacist, and then there's another typical question that how to
No.
avoid
One
giving
question.
bribe to the
One-
students.
one question at a
Yeah.
time.
Yes,
First
sir.
question was?
Sir, recognition
Recognition.
to the pharmacist. They need recognition. They say that doctors and nurses have been getting the recognition. Why not
Correct.
pharmacists?
Recognition is not something that somebody will come and give you. You have to command. See, I am sitting before you. I am wearing my white coat. Wherever I go, I tell everybody, you must wear your white coat. See, is there any difficulty in wearing a white coat?
Not
This
at all, sir.
increases your self-esteem. Even if I go to a chemist shop, a pharmacy, Apollo Pharmacy or 98.4, I always try to see the person who is wearing a white coat. I should talk to him, not to the ordinary person who is just a helper, maybe a pharmacist. But self-esteem is very important. So you unless you command that and with your deeds, with your attire, you will not get respect. आपको खुद ही करना पड़ेगा इसके लिए. I see Mr. Anjani Kumar from Jharkhand also is there, and
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
give him some
Yes, sir, sir.
opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Please,
sir. Yes, sir.
we invite Anjani sir to
Yes, sir.
enlighten our students, sir. Very good
Hello, sir.
afternoon, Anjani sir.
Can you hear my words, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, Mr. Jaggi has told very important things. You have to create your own self-respect. Otherwise, nobody can give you respect.
Thank you.
You have to fight for your respect, sir. And your respect can be achieved only by your action.
Correct.
The action, oh, sir. So what he said, it is very, very correct, sir. And I've gone through all the norms, what you have done, what you have taught today is because I am not in need of any license or anything, but I am interested to see, to hear the things,
Yeah.
what is happening these days, if I look from that side.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
So you have given many, many important recent things also, which I have not learned in my life, in my service, tenure of 44 years my service, 34 years of my service. And now I retired persons there, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
But we
Thank-
can learn from each other always. But aptitude should be there to learn.
Okay,
Very true,
sir. Very good, sir. Sir,
I
very
think-
nice, sir. I
you.
salute, sir,
Thank you.
Jackie Sahab. Very
Thank you.
nice, sir.
Thank you.
I think
Silky,
learning is a continuous process, Jaggi sir, and we really learn every day.
exactly.
Sir,
And
the
then-
next question is, it is again a typical question. How to
Hmm.
avoid giving bribe to the drug inspectors after we start a pharmacy? So this is again a
नहीं, but ये बच्चे का नाम बताओ.
बच्चे का नाम सर ब्राइट करके आ रहा है ब्राइट
मेरे को लगता है बच्चा
नेहा
नहीं है.
नेहा नेहा जस्ट चेक आउट इन द क्यूए बॉक्स
नहीं, लेकिन ये बहुत अच्छा सवाल है और
Yes,
बहुत
ma'am, it is.
बात पूछा है.
I think the name has been hidden. The identity,
problem,
he doesn't
no
want
problem.
to reveal the identity.
Don't
No,
worry,
no.
don't worry. But it is a very relevant question. Anybody listening to me, anybody in this audience, anybody who is listening to this webinar, I tell them openly, anybody asking for any money from you, anywhere in India, just let me know, he will not come close to you. In your life, अब मेरी बात समझ गए, जिसको नहीं समझ आया दोबारा हिंदी में बोलता हूँ. जो आपसे पैसा मांगे उसको मेरा नाम बता देना, उसका नाम मुझे बता देना, वो जिंदगी में आपसे पैसे नहीं मांगेगा. मेरे को बता देना, उसको मेरा नाम बता देना. कोई वजह है मैं बोल रहा हूँ. There is a reason why I am telling you, but I will not tell you more than that. There seems to be a person who asked this purposefully. He is not a student. I can guarantee he or she is not a student, but it is a very relevant question. हम उनको पैसे देते हैं तो वो लेते हैं. आप मना करो, आप उनको मेरा नाम बता दो, उसको मेरा नाम मेरे को बता दो, और फिर देखो वो जिंदगी में आपसे क्या किसी और से भी ले. एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. ऐसे ही लेक्चर दे रहा था मैं. Somebody asked similar question, not the same. I told them the very same a day before that my lecture. I told them 2 officers from the Central Drug Control Office have been arrested by the CBI because they had accepted some large amount of money for clearing their application. So I was addressing to the regulatory officer. अरे भाई ऐसा काम करते ही क्यों हो? Why do you do something? जो पैसा दे रहा है वो भी गलत है. Believe me, आप पैसे दे रहे हो, आप गलत है. Can you believe कि मैं तो नहीं कह सकता कि मैंने नहीं लिए हैं, लेकिन दुनिया ऐसे बोलती है कि जग्गी साहब ने तो कभी पैसे नहीं लिए हैं. लेकिन मैंने एक इससे भी बड़ी बात बोल रहा हूँ आपको, ऑल ऑफ यू, मैंने किसी को एक पैसा भी दिया नहीं है. नुकसान करा लिया, कोर्ट में गया, लड़ाई किया. नो, हम देते हैं तो भी गलत है, लेना तो छोड़ दो. There are people of different kind, so don't worry about that. We can change ourselves, not the entire world. हम खुद ठीक रहें, इतना बहुत है. Silky, I hope
sir.
what I wanted to convey. नेहा
Yes,
तो
sir.
जी
को तो
सर.
समझ आ गया है.
Yes,
किसी को
sir.
लाइसेंस लेना हो, बिना पैसे के लेना हो, तो मेरा ईमेल आईडी इससे पहली वाली स्लाइड में है, दोबारा देख लो. फोन करना, मेरे को उसका नाम बताना, और मैं देखूंगा वो आपसे पैसे लेके, ले भी लिए होंगे तो वापस देने आएगा.
Very true,
दिल्ली का
sir.
नहीं बोल रहा, दोबारा बोल रहा हूँ, इंडिया का. ठीक है, देयर मस्ट बी अ रीजन. So
True, sir.
very good
Yes,
question.
sir.
And as I always say, questions are
Yes.
guaranteed in life, but
I think we are end up with the
answers are
questions.
not.
Very right, sir. We have with us Jaya Balan sir also. Jaya Balan sir, good afternoon.
Make him the presenter.
Jaya Balan sir is there with us.
Morning he was, I suppose.
Yeah, at the starting, I think he was there.
Sir, I request you to please stop sharing your screen so that I can take a screenshot of all
Yeah,
the
Jaya
panelists.
Balan sir is there, Neha with us. Jaya Balan sir, very good afternoon. I would like to invite you for little remarks for the seminar. What would you like to please speak out for a few lines regarding the seminar? your perspective.
Something missing. In the
I think-
meanwhile, I want to give a small message.
Yes, sir.
Allow me for 20 seconds.
Bilkul, sir. You can take 1 minute, not an issue, sir. As I
Okay.
have told you, it's a treat to listen to you, sir.
This is
The
for all
only
of us.
restriction, yeah, yes.
This is all of us, for all of us, for me also. And it relates to the last question of the gentleman or the lady who asked the question and did not reveal his identity. जीवन मिलना भाग्य की बात है. Getting life is destiny. मृत्यु आना समय की बात है. समय पे मृत्यु आएगी, पर मृत्यु के बाद भी लोगों के दिलों में जीवित रहना ये कर्मों की बात है. अच्छे कर्म करेंगे तभी लोग याद रखेंगे. ये तो बहुत सारे चले गए. ये मेरे लिए है, आप सबके लिए है. अच्छे काम करो, हमेशा करो, जहां भी हो करते रहो. थैंक यू. अब
Wonderful,
आपका
sir.
टाइम,
Please, sir.
आपका टाइम है.
Yeah, Jaya Balan, sir, I would
Thank you,
request you
sir.
to speak out few words.
I think he is not in a meeting.
Okay, okay. So, Garg sir, can we end up here? Please conclude the seminar. I would request.
Yes,
Dr. Arun Garg,
actually,
sir, as we are
uh,
getting short of time.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
Jaya Balan,
please.
sir.
I will not take much time and
Yeah.
मैं तो हिंदी में ही बोलूंगा बहुत सारा कि बहुत संक्षिप्त में और बहुत अच्छे से जग्गी सर ने पढ़ाया और मतलब सिर्फ फार्मेसी के रूल रेगुलेशन के अलावा जो और चीजें हैं उनके बारे में ज्ञान दिया है बच्चों को. तो ये एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा है और मतलब इवन पूरे कंट्री से लोग जुड़े हैं. जैसे जग्गी साहब का भी प्रयत्न रहा है, हमारे भी IPGA SF और IPGA की स्टेट ब्रांचेस भी इसमें बहुत अच्छे से पार्टिसिपेट कर रही हैं. अंजलि कुमार जी जो
Yes.
है हमारे रांची से जुड़े हुए हैं, कर्नाटका से भी बहुत सारे लोग हैं और बहुत सारे जो लोग हैं. तो सभी के लिए हमारा प्रयत्न ये था, वी विश टू अप्राइज यू to provide you the knowledge for opening a pharmacy shop or a wholesale license where Jackie sir has very easily and in a very precise manner has given all those information. So thank you, sir, for once again listening to you and getting all those information. It is an eye opener to me also because I am not a regulator, but keep on learning from you regarding the different regulations. So the only thing which I got is that we used to say Drug and Cosmetic Act. Now it is a Drug Act. It is not a Cosmetic Act, right? So we have a Cosmetic Act 2020, which is there. And like sir has told that don't buy anything from online pharmacy because there are a lot of spurious drugs which have been supplied by this online pharmacy. And the Online Pharmacy Act is not being enacted by the Parliament and it is still in a draft stage. That's what I am aware of. And then all
You
the
are
best to all the best to all the participants. And once again, lot of thanks to Jackie sir. He always wear this white coat, and that's also my wish that all the pharmacists should wear a white coat. I tell you, I go every time when we conduct National Pharmacy Week, we go take the students to the different pharmacy shops and tell them to wear the white coat. And you believe that the patients, they wish to talk to you. They want information from you and they won't tell you. They will say, Dr. Saab, because they are in pain, they are suffering and they want some remedy for the disease and all those things. So the image will definitely come to you once you start wearing the white coat. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again from K.R. Mangalam University School of Medical and Allied Sciences and Indian Pharmacy Graduate Association.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
It
you,
was
thank you,
truly
thank
an enlightening session. It was truly an enlightening session for our students and for all of us. With this note, I would like to conclude this webinar. We would be looking forward to hear to you from many more topics, sir. And I thanks Anjani sir, Jaya Balan sir, for coming and sparing their time as a panelist. Dr. Garg has organized and coordinated this event. Thank you, sir. And thanks to all the team members of School of Medical and Allied Sciences. With this note, I would like to conclude it. Take
Wanted-
care, stay safe, stay home.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
have, you wanted to have a click of all the, so that I
Yes,
can
sir.
stop sharing.
Stop the sharing
Isn't it?
screen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How can I
Yeah.
do that? How can I do that? I don't know.
So you just stop sharing the screen by the green button on the screen.
Green one, yeah. I would also like that the attendees to
Yeah.
write the feedbacks in their chat box of how did they like the webinar. I've been reading this feedbacks. Yes. Request to the attendants, all the participants to write down the feedback.
Is that okay now?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
To all my friends, participants, and all the colleagues.